In this talk, I hope to explore what reality is. Thought-mediated definitions of reality varies from person to person, from profession to profession, from physicists to philosophers, from scientists to rationalists. This is because no one really understands what reality is. Why is that nobody can even project or postulate exactly what reality is? Because they all think. In other words, if you ask a physicist, scientist, or a philosopher, or for that matter, anybody who is interested in reality, what is reality? Then they start thinking. And therefore, from the beginning itself, they are off the track. Then they go into fantasy, such as parallel universes and strings. Fantasizing is hardly a scientific procedure, as they attempt to find explanation about reality, but they never see it, leave alone the struggle they undergo even to get a faintest idea of reality. The reality I am going to explore is not what is called quantum reality, which, as physicists say, nobody understands the quantum theory. So they have postulated the theory, not even those who postulated understood it. Hardly scientific, is it? They do not seem to understand that actual reality is not something that can be reached via elusive thinking and by way of mathematics, which is also another mind-mediated illusion. Some people think that the whole universe conforms to a mathematical formula, not knowing that mathematics is also a mind-mediated, mind-created illusion. So they are immersed in an illusion. That is why they have no clue even to know what they are looking for in reality. The distortion of facts of truth is shown in the double slit experiment. If mere observation distorts the facts, what about thinking? The reality I am going to explore in this talk is the ultimate building blocks of nature, inaccessible to experiments via a thinking process. Although it is not accessible to the mind-mediated memory-linked thought process, it can be seen by anybody who is prepared to stop the thought process and still be awake. Under ordinary circumstances, if you stop thinking, sleep ensues, and when that happens, nothing can be found out and nothing can be seen. This means that the waking up mechanism must change from a thought-mediated and mind-mediated wakefulness to a non-thought, non-mind-mediated mechanism of wakefulness. Many people, including all scientists, are not aware that this form of wakefulness can be uncovered from within us. Not knowing that reality cannot be reached via conceptual thinking. Some have even gone to the extreme of stating that there is no reality beyond perception or beliefs. They are, of course, unaware that the mind, in the form that it functions in an ordinary person, has no access to reality. One must note that time and space is not reality, but an illusion far from it, manipulated by the mind. In fact, these illusions created by the mind prevent one from understanding, experiencing, and seeing reality. Not knowing this, scientists keep plugging on and digging their own hole and probably end up in a black hole and declare that anything can start from nothing, which is more than a fantasy, leave alone any rational and scientific analysis. They can manipulate mathematical formulae by adding constants to what is unknown to the mind, to the thought process, and even end up showing that 0 equals to 1. Now you will realize even the currently non-existent theory of everything cannot embrace reality. The reality I explore in this talk is hidden from the senses, mind and the brain. We do not know with clarity or in detail how even these three parameters, the senses, mind and the brain, function in the body. So how can we know that reality is even beyond them? All we know about the brain is that we don't know much about it. It is sad, some people say that we can change reality by whether we observe or not in the form of double slit experiment. To them, the word reality has become just a word for use of a lot of things in common day-to-day life. So far, I have said so many things about what is not reality. You may ask, what then is reality? Let me tell you. Firstly, it is beyond thought, not comprehensible to the mind or equipment made using the thought process. Secondly, it is something that can be experienced and seen when one stops thinking and still be awake. In that situation, a new mechanism or a new eye called the eye of Panya or Prajna opens up, and this eye is capable of seeing reality. Thirdly, it is the ultimate building blocks of what we call nature, observed as an illusion via the senses and the mind. Fourthly, it is the tiniest ultimate particle that cannot be divided any further. I use the word particle because there is no other English word that can be used to explain such a state. Although I call it a particle within inverted commas, it cannot be measured and there is nothing physical in it. It can only be seen by the eye of Panya or Prajna. In Buddhist circles, these tiniest particles are called sankhara. Sang meaning combination or aggregation, and kara means information or knowledge. Fifthly, therefore, these sankhara are collections of information or knowledge that cannot be reached via the five senses, mind or the brain. This means that this special eye of Panya will reveal that all the nature we perceive via the senses, including our own body and mind, are actually aggregation of information gathered together in various formations to produce images of trees, houses and people, etc. Reality is also called truth in Buddhist circles, but not ultimate truth. One must know that there is another state beyond reality, which is the ultimate truth, called Nibbana or Nirvana. This is a state of supreme knowledge without collections of information as sankhara or reality. Where sankhara come together and form larger aggregates, an illusion develops and the character and function of the original information is lost in the process, in the sense that these conglomerates show different characteristics such as, broadly speaking, light, sound, etc. Please do not confuse these particles within inverted commas or sankhara with matter. Matter is a word used loosely to describe something unknown, much bigger particles. Reality is a state, actually not particulate, but the word particle within inverted commas was used to give a meaning only for understanding. As I said earlier, there is nothing physical or measurable in this state. Back to reality. If these collections of information break up individually, there would be no aggregates left when it is called Nibbana or Supreme Intelligence, supramundane knowing or supramundane knowledge. This is the state of Buddha. These aggregates of information are called Dhamma in Magadhi language and Dharma in Sanskrit. Due to lack of understanding in Buddhism, however, Dhamma has been described as something else. Now you know why in some Buddhist circles, although not in Buddhism, people talk about seeing Dhamma through a special eye of Panya or Prajna, which arises from within when mind is conquered and thoughts are abolished. As these collections of information arise and cease at the same time, there is no time in reality, and hence the saying Dhamma is timeless, known as Akaliko in Buddhist circles. Dhamma is to be experienced and seen. compare with Nibbana, reality is the base upon which, with further aggregations of sankhara, lead to the formation of matter, which can be perceived by the senses or equipment made through the thought process. Such classic examples are light, sound, trees, houses, people, etc. Finally, reality, Dhamma or Dharma, Sankhara, truth, or whatever you call it, it is only to be understood, experienced, and seen. Because this state is only seen when the mind is conquered and thoughts are abolished, you know why the scientists will never reach this state. What they have done so far has been fantasizing and postulating and calculating, all of them extremes of mind-mediated illusions. Remember, there is no science without a functioning magician, the troublemaker, the elusive mind. From my next talk, I will explore the path to reality and Nibbana, starting from the structure of the so-called body and mind, and information exchanges between these two illusion-producing structures.